to a Hope 1032 podcast.
As followers of Jesus, in whom all things were made, we acknowledge the Darug people as the traditional custodians of the country of where this podcast is recorded. We acknowledge their continuing connection to the land and waters, and thank them for protecting this land and its ecosystems since time immemorial. We pay our respects to elders past, present and future, and we extend that respect to all First Nations peoples listening today.
The Hope Book Club with Katrina Rowe and Natasha Moore, because life's just better with a book.
Hello and welcome to episode 46 of the Hope Book Club. And look, we may as well get straight into it. We have some big news for you today. And that is that Hope Book Club is going to be sounding a little bit different in 2023. So I need to let you know that I am handing over the reins of Hope Book Club to these two gorgeous ladies, Georgia and Simone. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for having us, Katrina.
So as of this year, I am in a new role with the Riverina Regional Library, going to be actually managing 40 book clubs full-time and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's time for this podcast to move on to some new hosts. So, Georgia, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Firstly, from you, what do you like to read?
Okay.
What are some of your favourite books?
This is such a loaded question. I love fiction. Although I must say I prefer realistic fiction to fantasy. I'm not that big of a fan of fantasy, and I think that is because I am quite impatient. When I read a lot of descriptions of landscapes and things, I'm like, let's move it along, people. Let's move it along.
So you get bored with the world building that
I
has
do.
to happen for fantasy.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, me too. Well,
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. And what about you, Simone? Tell us a bit about yourself and what you like reading.
So I'm Simone. I do promotions and events here. So I love the world building. Like, honestly, I love that part. I love fantasy. I also love lots of other fiction. Anything where you can kind of, be either taken out of your current circumstances and kind of travel the world or time, but also where you can kind of find yourself as well. Sometimes books that just speak to a situation or a time that I'm in, I really appreciate as well.
Awesome. Well, I know you guys are going to be great. I know you're going to have a lot of fun. And I just want to let all our Hope Book Club listeners know, if you have been with Hope Book Club from the beginning and you've heard all 45 episodes, you're still going to be hearing those familiar voices as part of the new format. So Natasha Moore will still be joining the Hope Book Club. Hopefully I'll get a chance to review some books. I'll certainly be doing plenty of reading in my new role. And you can look forward to hearing from those old friends from Hope Book Club, but you now have two new hosts. Thanks so much for taking over the reins, guys, and I know you're going to have a really great time.
And Katrina, on behalf of, Simone and I, but also just all the listeners of the Hope Book Club, I just want to thank you for the last 45 episodes. I know this podcast has been such a labour of love for you. And I got to say that this podcast and your love of books is one of the reasons I actually got back into reading as an adult. I had a major slump when I was going through high school and uni, and life just happened. But your love of literature and this podcast in particular, with so many great recommendations, has been the reason that I have gotten back into reading again. So to have this full circle moment is really special. So thank you.
Well, that is lovely to hear. And I think what is really special about this is that it is helping to build a culture of reading. But the other thing is that when we talk about books, guys, it's often a window into the soul. I find that when you have conversations with people about books, you can get into deep and meaningful conversations so much more quickly than if you're actually just sitting there talking about what's happening in your own life. And so I do hope that many of our listeners appreciate, that in these conversations, in reading interesting books and learning about ourselves and each other, we actually can really help to create community with one another and get to know each other better as well. And that's the best thing about the Hope Book Club. And I really just have to pay tribute, especially to Natasha Moore. We've had some other great reviewers as well, Katrina Clifford and Delanda Joyce and Kyle Grice. But Natasha and I have been here since the beginning talking about books, and she's introduced me to so many great characters and so many great reads that I wouldn't have known about as well, you know, including just the Thursday Murder Club series. Like right now I'm listening to Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, which is such a fun book by Benjamin Stevenson. Natasha was the one that recommended that. So yeah, love it. So many of the books that I've enjoyed have come to me via Natasha. So I've really enjoyed hanging out with her and learning from her reading as well. So yeah, a big thank you shout out to Natasha Moore. Well, thanks guys. Happy reading. I know you're going to love doing this. It is so much fun.
Hope Book Club with Georgia and Simone. Because life's just better with a book.
Well, thank you to Katrina for that lovely official introduction. But Sim, I think it was so beautiful, but I am like a lot less formal than this in general. So I'd love to give a bit of an unofficial introduction.
Perfect.
I'm Georgia. I am the Hope Drive announcer. You'll be able to hear me on Hope between 3 and 7 each day, and each weekday, I should say. And I'm also the host of another podcast because clearly I say yes to too many things.
Wonderful podcast.
Finding Hope, which you can find on the Hope app, where you find this one as well. I've been a bookworm since the ripe age of 3. I actually taught myself to read. I was one of those strange children.
Yeah.
I taught myself to read through Golden Books, and I don't know if you remember these, but when Bananas in Pajamas was not the cartoon, like the people walking around in costumes, they had these books associated with them. Did you have them?
Well, I'm a little older than you. So Bananas in Pajamas, I think, was like, I don't know the cartoon. That's
okay. That's
I just knew the people. Like,
well, I had those Bananas in Pajamas books basically, and that's how I taught myself to read. And since then, I read everything. I was one of those kids that like read a whole book in a sitting, until about high school, and then all of a sudden we had to start reading for school, assigned reading, and that killed the vibe. I'm going to be real with you. It killed the vibe. And pretty much through all of high school and all of uni, I had like a reading slump. I was in a slump. One, I couldn't find time to read because I was studying all the time. I did a chemistry degree, so it was just so much work all the time. And then COVID hit. And all of a sudden, I had kind of all this time on my hands. And I'm like, I'll tell you what could be nice to get back into, books. And it was really great. So that's kind of my story. And I pretty much haven't stopped reading since. And I'm so excited to be talking books with you every couple of weeks. All right, Sim, what's your story? Did you teach yourself to read as well?
Not quite, although I was the kid who would pick up books as a baby and like flick through them as if I was reading them. I like to think that was me reading.
Yeah, sure.
But no, for those who don't know me, I'm Simone. I am the promotions and events person here at Hope. So if you've, tuned in or you've kind of, registered for the book club live events, you've probably
seen Sim's face.
Probably seen my face or gotten an email from me. If you've won a prize, you've probably gotten an email from me. Very excited to do this. I am a massive bookworm. I was definitely the kid that when like Christmas came, my favorite Christmases was when I would get a big pile of books and then just be allowed to spend the next 3 days reading.
Oh, that sounds like heaven.
It was the best. They were the highlight of my Christmases. And then I found again, life gets in the way and you go through phases of reading and not reading. And for me, I actually moved here to Sydney in 2021, a few weeks before the lockdown.
The major lockdown.
The big
June
lockdown.
2021, yeah.
So I moved here from Perth. So it was it's still Australia, but it was a big difference. And I got back into reading massively then. For me, it became a lifeline, being new city, not knowing many people yet, not being able to leave my house. I managed to, just read and also find a lot of community through that. I found people on Facebook groups or on, social media stuff who were into books as well. And we just kind of gave me a chance to really connect with people despite being here on my own a little. So books became even bigger of a thing for me.
Yeah. And that's what this podcast actually is all about as well, community, which we'll talk about a bit later. Now, Sim, why are we doing this together? Why did kind of, it seems like, I don't know, we're kind of just like put into this podcast as two hosts. Why are we actually doing this together?
So we definitely bonded over our love of books when we first started working here.
Sorry to everyone who shares an office with us.
Yeah, or tries to like have lunch at the same time we do. It's
we're
definitely. We definitely get enthusiastic and passionate about talking about it. And so, yeah, despite being new to each other, didn't really know much about each other, we sort of bonded over books and thought, why not share that with everybody else?
Yeah, and we actually like have quite a significant age gap as well. So I feel like we kind of like some similar books, but we also, you know, grew up when different sorts of books were popular, and I feel like that can, you know, connect us to different audiences as well. So,
and just being different in different places and having had, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're single and young, a mum, like older, like you can still connect over books. Like 100%. You can still enjoy the same things and sort of talk about it.
All right, so Sim, I thought we'd do a few quick fire questions about books so the people can get to know us a bit better.
I know.
All right, first question, physical book or ebook?
I would love to say physical book, but I have to go ebook.
What?
No. Okay.
Oh, that is controversial straight off the gate.
So
wow.
I move a lot. Okay. And with the number of books I read, it just became such a nightmare packing and unpacking and packing and unpacking. And so I really got into ebooks and just discovered how amazing it is to also be able to go out and finish a book while you're out and go straight onto another one without having a massive bag of books.
All right, I can respect that. I would love to be that person. I unfortunately have this giant floor to sit. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. I'm very lucky to have this.
That's amazing.
It's amazing, and I have it full of books. There are so many books on my TBR pile. It is ridiculous. It will take me years to get through them all, but it's all right. I keep collecting anyway.
Does the pile ever really finish?
No, it doesn't.
No.
It just gets bigger and bigger forever. I do have a Kindle. I think one thing that has stopped me from using it is I dropped it and I got a big gash in the screen, which means every time I turn it on, there's this big crack. But look, it still works and I still love it, but I think I need to use it more. Yeah. Second question. Audiobooks, yes or no?
Oh, I wish it was a yes. I just can't get into it.
Yeah, me neither.
I just can't.
Okay. Have you tried any? Are there any audiobooks that you've liked?
No, and the weird thing is I love listening to like podcasts that almost like sound like audiobooks. Okay. You know, like that are very like heavy with information, and yet I still can't get into ebooks.
I'm kind of the same. Like I love podcasts, but I feel like I need to be fully engaged even with the podcast. Like I get really stressed if I even like miss a few minutes. So I like will rewind. And when you listening to a book, sometimes if you miss a sentence, you've missed a whole plot point, right?
It's way too easy to just like zone out for me and just I can't. Like I'll tune back in and I've missed a chapter.
In saying that, I will give one recommendation for an audiobook which I really loved, and that is Any Ordinary Day by Lee Sales. So she's most of you probably know Lee Sales, a veteran journalist, and she is a brilliant writer, but also she has this brilliant speaking voice. So it kind of like, it lulls you into these stories. And because it's not a fiction book, she kind of tells snippets of, you know, interviews that she's had over the years and people have been through kind of hard times. So it kind of reads like a podcast, but it's a book. So you might want to check that one out.
I will.
All right, third question, libraries or bookstores? I feel like this is impossible. I'm so sorry.
I have such a deep, deep love for libraries, not just for the book side, but for everything that libraries do. However, so I love libraries. And I love that they have now gone digital with a lot of things. So I can still do my ebooks and still read them through the library. Having said that, there's also just nothing better than spending a couple of hours in a bookstore, like a really good bookstore, wandering around and finding all of the new books and discovering new authors.
Yeah, I agree. I love bookstores so much, just the nostalgia of them, but also the same with libraries. I feel like as the years go on, and the cost of living crisis continues,
Yeah.
I may love libraries more and more and more, mainly because they're free. All right, final question. Fiction or nonfiction?
Like fiction all the way for me, with some exceptions.
Okay.
And cookbooks is probably the biggest
you love a good
exception for me. I love a good cookbook. If it's well written, like it's just so much fun and so inspirational.
I love that. Okay, fiction for me as well, but I will say most of the time it has to be realistic fiction. So I'm not super into fantasy.
I love fantasy.
And I think it's because I'm just super impatient. So when you have like whole chapters, Lord of the Rings, for example, where multiple chapters talking about the landscape and everything like that, like my imagination doesn't run wild. I'm just like, get to the point, people. Let's move this story along.
So you don't like imagine the entire world.
I try to, but I feel like my imagination is not that great. So I think that's why I don't like it.
Whereas I love anything that can give me some great world building.
All right, that's good. All right, enough about us, because you'll learn more about us as the time goes by.
So much more.
All right, let's get to the actual podcast, because it has been going for 4 years now, but the format is changing a lot. So basically, Hope Book Club, we want it to be a place where we gush about books, which is just every day of our lives, really, but also talk about literature from a hope-filled Christian lens, which we feel like is quite rare in this landscape.
Yeah.
So we hope this podcast makes you think, it makes you laugh, makes you feel connected, but most of all, makes you read. It's as much yours as it is ours, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's, we've got the Hope Book Club Facebook group. Wow, that is a tongue twister. But it's very, very easy to get involved in. You can head to the Hope Facebook page and find us there, and you can connect in. We really have that so that, you can connect with other Hopeland book lovers, as well as, really start to include you and make sure that this is your podcast as well as ours.
Yeah, absolutely. It already has like 130-ish members. So if you just search for Hope Book Club on Facebook, you'll find it. But we'll also put that information in the show notes. So you can find that too. All right, Sim, let's talk a little bit about the format, because it's going to be changing quite significantly. So take it away.
So we're actually going to be alternating between like a deep dive on a book, and then also, having a quick chat in between with, some book, just basically everything book related. We love talking, like you've seen or heard already, about libraries and all of that. We will talk about everything, whether it's recent reads, all-time favorites. We might talk about like your TBR piles, our TBR piles, which is never ending. And, anything really book related.
Yeah. So basically it's going to be like once a month.
Yes.
We're doing like a major book review episode of a book that we've both read.
We'll invite you to like read along with us as well,
please.
so that we'll give you plenty of notice for that as well, so that what we're reading here, you can also read along with us if you want.
Yeah. And then in between those will be those mini episodes where we talk about all book things. Now, you may have noticed we've talked a lot about connection, community. We have the podcast, obviously. We have the Facebook group, which we've just talked about. But there's also a really new, exciting way for you to connect with the Hope Book Club. We are so excited about this. We have set up a voicemail number, which you can call in and give your recommendations, give your feedback, ask us questions. Basically, whatever you want to know or tell us about books, we would love to hear from you. So whether that's the books you've been loving, questions you want to ask us, recommendations you want to give for the next book, basically, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, but we want you to be able to tell us what you're thinking about and what is in your book world.
Yeah, because seriously, this podcast is as much for you as it is for us. So each episode at the end, we're going to choose a couple of messages that we've gotten that fortnight to answer on the pod. So hopefully it creates this like little community. So if you want to be a part of that, this is a new number to learn. We're going to put this in the show notes as well.
Yes. So you don't have to learn it. Just go to the show notes, but you can pause here and grab it now.
All right. It's 029854 7025. So I'm going to say that again. I'm really going to have to learn that. I've got this paper in front of me. 029854 7025. And we're going to have that in the show notes as well. Or you can always ask your questions in the Hope Book Club. Yes. You can post anything you like. We'll be making posts like every few days, inviting you to just be a part of it. So we actually haven't given you much notice for the next book. We said that we were going to give you a heap of notice, so we're off to a great start here. But in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a deep dive on a charming Aussie novel released back in 2021. It's called The Garden of Hopes and Dreams by Barbara Hannay. Yep. Really excited to read this one. Sim, what's it about?
So it's set in Brisbane, and it sort of follows individual stories of a few people living in the same apartment building who come together around like kind of a communal rooftop garden, and they sort of learn about themselves and each other and sort of start to form connections and community.
That makes me wish for a communal rooftop garden in my building. I don't think my strata manager would go for that. But if you've read any of Sophie Green's books, which has been discussed on the pod before, it's actually quite a similar vibe to that. So it kind of follows the same plot from a bunch of different perspectives.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of different life experiences as well, different ages, different backgrounds, things like that. So at first glance, the book is a lot like that. So if you're a fan of Sophie Green, you'll probably be a fan of this one. So it's called The Garden of Hopes and Dreams by Barbara Hannay. We'll put that in the show notes as well. But I'm going to go pick it up from my library because I just saw on my library app that it's available. And nothing's ever available first go. So I'm going to like run and try and grab it. So we're going to be discussing that in just about 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And Sim, I think we survived. That's the first episode done. It's done and dusted.
My first one ever, any kind of podcast.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I think you're going to be a great host.
I survived. I thank you for your help.
And thank you so much to you for listening. Sim and I are so excited about what's to come. So if you want to chat, ask a question, give recommendations, you can send a voicemail. I'll just say that number again. Let me find it. It's 9854 7025, or you can jump on the Facebook group.
Everything's in the show notes.
Everything.
So you can find all that kind of stuff in the show notes. Let us know. Give us a call.
And The Garden of Hopes and Dreams by Barbara Hannay. That's the next book. We're so excited. And we'd also love for this podcast to reach more people. The way you can actually help us with that is whatever you're listening from right now, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, whatever it is, rate, review, subscribe to get the latest episodes, and also share it with your friends. I actually got a text from Mum last night. Shout out to my mum. I love her so much. She's like, my friend is looking for some great book recommendations, so I'm going to give the podcast to her. I'm like, Mum, this is how you do it. Thank you so much. So, yeah, if you've got friends that love books, just tell them about Hope Book Club. The more listeners, the better, because we'd love to have as many people as possible in this community.
Absolutely. You know, the more people who can join, the more we can have some wide variety of sort of recommendations and ideas for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Until then, stay reading. Hope you have a great fortnight. We'll catch you next time. Sim, I believe you've got a bookish quote to end on.
Yes, we're going to end on a quote from the lovely Emma Thompson, who I adore. She says, I think books are like people in the sense that they'll turn up in your life when you most need them.
Oh, what a great ending.
It is.
I love that. We'll catch you next time, guys.
See ya.
Hope 1032. Thanks for listening.